What would you do if the man you've lived with for more than 30 years confessed one night that he was fantasizing about your best friend? Not in a drunken rage, not in a quarrel, but with cold sobriety. Alone. Calmly. As if talking about a new chicken recipe. I'm Emma, 52 years old. I'm a retired nurse. I have 2 grown children and a husband with whom I have been through almost everything. Tom is a year older. He is a former engineer, now retired. He plants tomatoes in the garden, quarrels with the TV, and likes corn chips. We are used to the silence. We are used to the same evenings, where the maximum emotion is the choice of which movie to watch. But that evening, while I was washing the dishes, I heard a snippet of conversation from the living room. Tom was on the phone. His voice was a little excited, like a teenage boy, and I heard it at Laura. Why, she looks better than mine. Her breasts are great, and she knows how to listen, not to mention. I froze with my plate in my hands. She can't listen when I can't listen. When he hung up and went into the kitchen, I asked Ag, "Did you just talk about Laura?" He was surprised but not confused. On the contrary, he shrugged his shoulders and, "Yeah, I was talking to Mike. Just talking. All a fantasy. All men do that." I didn't say anything. I didn't say I cheated. He added, "I just imagined it. It's normal." That's when I realized that it wasn't just normal for him. He makes excuses, but he doesn't repent. And he was even a little proud that he was still attracted to people like Laura, younger, more attractive, with white teeth and rosy cheeks. I stood there in silence. My mind was mixed with anger and fear. Anger because it was humiliation. And fear because if I make a scandal, what will happen next? Will he go to her? Or will he leave me? We live in a small town in Ohio. Everyone here knows each other. Laura has been my friend since college. We worked together, celebrated Christmas together. I helped her with her daughter when she was going through a difficult time. We shared one life in 2 families. And now it turns out that she is his fantasy. Amina, someone he thinks about when I'm around. I didn't scream. I didn't throw plates. I just told him, fine. Then, if you're so attracted to her, go ahead. Let's see what happens. He wrinkled his forehead. Oh, what? Nothing. Just allow yourself a little fantasy. I will? Let's be honest. A game without rules, right? It scared him. He wasn't used to me like this. Usually, I would cry quietly into my pillow or withdraw into myself. But this time I felt that I couldn't just be a victim. That night I did not sleep. For the first time in many years, I looked at the ceiling and thought not about bills or my old back. I was thinking about how to make Tom see himself from the outside, to make him realize that he was betraying not his body, but his trust. Not the marriage, but me, the one who had been wiping his ass for years when he was in a fever. One who sold jewelry to help him with his debts. And so my plan was born, not a scream, not a divorce, but a silent game. The next morning I made him coffee as usual. I smiled at him. I hugged him. I even kissed him on the cheek. And then I wrote a message to Laura. Hi. Long time no see. Come for coffee. We have an interesting conversation to have. I didn't know what would happen, but I felt that this was just the beginning. And this story will end either with a bang or an explosion. Sometimes the worst thing is not betrayal. The worst thing is to find out that your best friend has been playing a game behind your back for a long time. Shh. With a smile. With sweet words and good pies for the holidays. And then, like a knife in the back. Without warning, the Laura came the next day, in her perfect jeans with her hair perfectly styled and her perfume blocking the oxygen. She was smiling, as if everything was fine. Honey, how are you? She hugs me. I hug her back. But not tightly, just for form. Let's sit down. I have something to talk about, I say and serve her coffee. She looks around as if looking for something. Tom's home, but I made sure he was busy. He's fixing something in the basement. And you're so tense. Laura says, is everything okay? I look at her directly, and I speak softly, as if we're talking about the weather. Tom told me he likes you. There is silence. She sips her coffee, and only after a few seconds she spits it out. Well, he's always been a little weird, hasn't he? He didn't say it in a snarky way. He praised you, your conversations, your figure. Laura adjusts her collar, and her eyes no longer have that playful lightness. Something else appears caution, and something else. Triumph. She leans forward a little. I'll tell you honestly, I noticed it a long time ago. I stare at her in silence. On an and, she continues. He didn't look at me like a friend. You know, at first I thought I was imagining things. But then he hinted at it himself. He said that sometimes he thinks about another life. About another woman. And I was joking, laughing. But he was serious. I felt my heart shrink. So it wasn't just a conversation with a friend. It was ongoing. Was he hinting? Did he try? I asked, although I'm already afraid of the answer. She lowers her eyes. But there is no shame on her face. Just tired. It's okay. Listen, Emma, I'm married. Yes, my marriage isn't perfect. But I'm not crazy enough to get involved in someone else's family, especially not yours. But honestly, it was a pleasure. After 45, you rarely hear that someone admires your body, you know? I didn't answer. I just looked out the window. All our evenings, picnics, Christmases flew before my eyes. How she strokes Tom's shoulder in a playful hug. How he poured her wifed and a little louder than usual. I've seen it before. I didn't cheat on you, Laura adds, but I'm human too. I wanted to feel wanted. And Tom gave me that, even if it was with words, I sighed. And finally setting, he and I have hardly had any passion for 10 years now. We just live together, like neighbors. But I never thought that you could be that predator. I'm sorry, but you're not that simple, Laura. She looked at me with a subtle challenge. And you think simplicity is a virtue. We're all hiding something, Emma. We all have our desires. It's just that some of us are honest with ourselves, and some of us bury our heads in the sand. When she left, the house was quiet, but not peacefully. It was an oppressive silence. A silence in which I heard something I would not have noticed otherwise. The creaking of an old marriage, unnecessary glances, unspoken words. I realized that the game had begun, and I'm not just a player in it. I'm a judge, a director, and a victim at the same time. A day later, Tom received a mysterious letter. It had no return address. Just one sentence. Do you know what you are most afraid of? I didn't write it. Laura did not know either. But someone knew, and that was just the beginning. There is one rule in friendship after 40, do not confuse habits with trust. Because even your oldest friend can start a new game, and you won't immediately realize that the chips have long been laid out without you. After talking to Laura, I couldn't sleep, and I lay there listening to Tom snoring and replaying everything in my head. His quinfatuation didn't look like a temporary crush. It was deeper than that. It was as if he was living a parallel life in which I was just a decoration. I tried to behave as usual, make the bed, put on a smile. But it didn't stay on my face anymore. It was cracking like the old tiles on the floor in our bathroom. The next morning, I received a message from Laura on my phone. Akua, I need to talk to you. It's important. My body reacted before my brain did. My heart beat faster. I didn't want to see her again. But there was no stop button in this story. We met at a coffee shop we had been going to since the time when the kids were little. She came wearing sunglasses, but the look behind them was gloomy. He came to see me. In the evening, she said, not taking off her glasses. When? Yesterday, after your dinner. He said you hardly ever talk, that he felt lonely. I stare at the table. The empty cup in front of me was the only thing keeping me from exploding. Tom went to her. Right away. And what happened? I asked, trying not to break my voice. Nothing. I threw him out the door, but he was drunk, and honestly a little pathetic. She took a sip of coffee and wiped her lips with a napkin. Listen, Emma, we can't go on like this. We can't go on like this. I love you like a sister, but your husband, he's not himself, and if you don't put him in his place, he's going to drag you down. What are you, a lifeguard? I couldn't stand it. Be careful. There's a shark, but I won't do anything. I am not a lifeguard. But I almost drowned once before, with my own husband. And I don't want to dive into other people's swamps anymore. And Anna, we sat in silence. And I remembered how 10 years ago Laura came to me in tears. Her husband had lost everything they had in a casino. She stayed with us for several weeks. We became closer than ever then. I would bring her tea to bed. We would laugh in the middle of the night at TV shows. We were a family. And now this is a different Laura, tougher, more cautious, with armor under her dress. I returned home with the feeling that someone had put a bomb under my bed, a slow, psychological one. Tom was sitting in the living room, watching the news. I passed by him like a shadow. "Are you okay?" he asked. "What do you think?" He sighed. I wanted to talk to Laura about our marriage. "She knows you. I thought she might have some advice." "You advice? You? About me?" My voice rose without permission. I just left. I didn't want to hear any more, because the words. I had no bad intentions. Always hide the most disgusting thing, cowardice. In the evening, while cleaning the pantry, I found an old box of letters. Mine, Laura's, even Tom's. By chance, there was a photo among them. The three of us at the lake. He's holding her by the waist. My eyes are on the side of the frame. If only I had seen then what had already begun. The next morning I received another letter, and this time it was addressed to me, and it contained an extract from Tom's account, a large transfer to an unknown name, and at the bottom, a short sentence: "The game is just beginning." Just when you think you've seen it all and won't be surprised, life sets the perfect trap. Subtle like an ex-lover's perfume and invisible until it's too late. The letter with Tom's bank account statement was haunting me. There was a transfer for an amount that did not fit into our retirement, budgeting a little over $20,000. The recipient was some name that didn't mean anything to me. But the bank was familiar, and that was the key. It was the same bank where Laura and her husband used to bank when they still had a joint account. I didn't want to jump to conclusions. But 20,000 and silence. And not a word or half a word about it at home. No, I helped a friend, or invested, or even a stupid excuse. Just silence. But there is one thing I know for sure when a man is silent about money. He is either a fool or a traitor, and my Tom is definitely not a fool. I called the bank and pretended to want to clarify the transfer. They said they couldn't provide details without the account holder's consent. That was expected. But I managed to remember one more thing, the date of the transaction, for the day before he went to see Laura. This is no longer a coincidence, it was a plan. I dressed as if for a trial, neatly, discreetly, a little cold. I knocked on Laura's door without warning her. She opened the door, coffee in hand and a confused look on her face. "Is something wrong? We need to talk." No coffee, no masks. We sat down on the terrace. I took a copy of the bank statement out of my bag and put it in front of her. It's money from Tom. The recipient's name is Carla Morgan. Doesn't mean anything to me. Doesn't mean anything to you. Laura goes pale. She's always been a good actress, but this time something's gone wrong. She gulps for air, as if for the first time in her life. "That's my old maiden name. I had a bank account under that name. But it's not what you think." "What do I think, Laura?" "Abana, that you two are playing me while I bake you cupcakes for Christmas." She is silent for a long time. Later, he said he wanted to give me a gift, for me to start a new business. So I wouldn't feel lonely. I refused. But the money came, and you did what? I spent it. I felt like I was cold all over. Not from the amount, it was the lie. She didn't come to me. She didn't confess. She just took it. And my husband just gave it to me without a word. It was not just a story. It was a promise. Between them, I left her house without saying goodbye. On the way home, only one thing kept running through my mind: how much more of this game can I not see? And who is playing into whose hands? Tom was waiting at home, as usual, with a plate of pasta and a bottle of wine. The TV was humming something in the corner, an ordinary evening for an ordinary couple. But I was no longer an ordinary wife. I was a trap for him, and for myself. I sat down across from him. "Why, Laura?" I asked simply, rand of all of them. Acquaintances, friends, random women on Facebook. "Why, Laura?" He wiped his hands on a napkin and looked me in the eye, but he didn't say anything. Silence was all he gave me. "I already know everything. Your money, her account, your evenings. She's not as stupid as she seems. But she's not as cunning as she thinks she is. No, listen, I have not played this game yet, but now is the time." My patience had come to an end. There I put an envelope in front of him. It contained a copy of my mother's will, with one unexpected amendment. He didn't know yet that it would change everything, even things he hadn't realized. Sometimes the best revenge is simply to give a person the opportunity to show their true colors. Not to take revenge. No yelling. Just open the door and let them do what they want to do, even if it hurts later. After our dinner with wine and lies, I didn't go to bed. I looked at the ceiling, listened to Tom breathing in the other room. For the first time in more than 20 years of marriage, we slept separately. And in that silence, my plan was born. I would not swear, I would not throw tantrums. I'm just going to make him into his own shit in public, so that he could no longer say, "It's not what you think." It all started on Laura's birthday. She was supposed to organize a small meeting at her home, but as usual it turned into a mini performance for the neighbors' decor catering, live saxophone, cocktails, with a micro umbrella. I texted Laura, "Do you want Tom to come over and congratulate you? By himself, without me. It would be interesting to see how you would do it," she replied with an okay emoji. I texted Tom, "Go to the party. Leah, you'll have a chance to be with her. Maybe this is exactly what you need." I'm not holding. He didn't realize the trap. He put on his best shirt, the same perfume he wore on our 15th anniversary, and left. And he didn't even ask if I was sure I didn't want to go with him. Instead, I checked the cameras. Yes, Laura had video surveillance in the hall and in the kitchen. We had set it up together when her husband was cheating on her. And of course, I still had access to the app. I opened my laptop. Everything was ready, so was the popcorn. He came in, smiling like he was auditioning for a reality show. Laura greeted him with a hug. Her dress was red like wine and so tight that even I felt uncomfortable. They talked in the kitchen. She was laughing. He touched her hand. But the interesting part started 20 minutes later. He, like a TV show character, raised his glass and said, "Laura, I've been thinking about this for a long time, and I can't keep silent anymore. I love you." I almost choked on my tea. And she froze like in a movie. Then she took a step back. She said quietly, clearly, into the camera's microphoning, "Tom, you are a fool. And you know why. Because you thought I was interested in you. He is confused. But you. And I was playing because I was bored. Because you're like a puppy chasing a bone. And I'm the bone." He tried to say something to justify himself, but the people around him had already stopped laughing. Everyone had seen the scene. Laura didn't scream. She was as calm as a shark before a bite. "By the way," she added, "it was your wife who let you come." She knew, and she agreed, because she probably wanted to see you embarrass yourself. He stood in the middle of the room, full of people, with the humiliation sticking to him like cheap paint. He was no longer confident, no longer a hero. I turned off the broadcast. There was no point in watching any further, and he had already done everything he needed to do. He came in late. Quite no sound. I was sitting in the kitchen with a book. He walked by as if I didn't exist. I said, "How was the holiday?" He didn't answer. He just went into the bedroom. He closed the door. I went to bed quietly. For the first time in a long time, I didn't spin around and think, what if I've gone too far? Because I didn't. And I just let him be himself without any embellishments. And he did the rest himself. But the most interesting part was yet to come, because Laura sent me a message the next day. One sentence. We need to talk. I haven't said everything. When it seems like things can't get any worse, money comes along. It does not solve problems. They only complicate them. And the choice to be made becomes not about love, but about survival. The morning after that performance, Tom behaved like an empty jar. He was buzzing, but he had nothing inside him. He didn't speak. He didn't eat. He didn't ask questions. Ona and I was making coffee when a message from Laura appeared on the screen. Let's talk. Right now. I met her at the coffee shop, and I immediately noticed that she was not in the image of a femme fatale. She was wearing no makeup, a shirt, and had a kind of nervous energy about her. Listen, she began, I know how it looked, but it's not that simple. What is it, Laura? I put the cup on the table. I was at a game. The heat. Oh, the hormones. She sighed a long sigh, as if she was puffing herself up for something heavy. I need money. Is that why you were hanging on to my husband? I thought he'd behave like everyone else. Have a cheat on me, give me a bracelet, and then quietly disappear. But he fell stupidly in love, and I can't use him, and I can't stop it. It turned out that her husband had filed for divorce. Lawyers' algorithms. Business. And Laura was at risk of losing her home, her car, and her peaceful retirement. She needed someone to give her support, at least temporarily. But I can't ruin your life, she said. So? I didn't continue. I sat there in silence. My head was buzzing, because damn it, this wasn't just a fling. This was a strategy, and I knew that now I had two options: either forgive him, or leave him where he was, alone with his weakness. When Tom and I got married, we had nothing. A bed on the floor, an old toaster, and a dream of owning a house someday. We built everything together. But in recent years, it was no longer a family. It was an accounting office, a bills, insurance, a joint mortgage. Even divorce is now not about the heart, but about the tax office. I sat down in front of my laptop and opened our bank accounts. We had a retirement savings, a deposit for our grandson's college, a joint vacation account, and separate savings, mine and his. He had more. Because I spent more time with the children, and he was building a career. That's the main thing. If I leave him, I will lose half of it, and more. But if I stay, I will sell myself. Is dignity worth tens of thousands of dollars? That evening I put the documents in front of him. I said it simply. We have two options. Either we live on but with conditions, or we part ways, you leave me the house, and I will stay out of your business. He looked at me as if I were a stranger. And if I don't want to live with you anymore, then pack your things, because from now on you are a guest in my house. But he didn't. He didn't leave. He didn't scream. I don't know what happened to me, he said. But, I don't want to lose you. That's not love, Tom, it's fear. You're afraid to be alone, maybe. But if you give me a chance, I'll prove to you that I can change. I said yes. But we've rewritten the financials. The joint account is under my control. We discuss all major expenses, no meetings with colleagues, or staying late at work. I knew that this would not fix anything, but it was my choice. Because dignity is also the ability to pull yourself out of the mire, even if the one who drove you into it is right next to you. And then I received a letter, an old-fashioned letter on paper, from someone from the past, and with one sentence that made my heart skip a beating. Tom is not who you think he is. Sometimes a person plays a role for so long that they forget who they really were. And then everything falls apart. Not because of others, not because of betrayal, but because he loses himself. Like Tom, my husband, I was sitting in the kitchen when that letter arrived, an old envelope, yellow with age, the address handwritten. The sender was A. Marlowe, and I did not know this person. But there was only one line inside: Tom is not who you think he is, and a copy of an old photograph. Tom, 20 years younger, with another woman and a child. Thus, I immediately realized that this was no accident, because this woman in the photo was an acquaintance, not personally, but her face appeared next to our lives, in a photo of friends among Tom's colleagues in one of the old New Year's cards. I started digging, and when I opened the archives of one of the alumni websites, I saw her naming Annabelle Marlowe, and next to it, the name of the boyfriend. Thomas J. Marlowe. Tom had another last name, and another life. Once upon a time. I pulled up some old files. I called the law firm he worked with in the 90s. They confirmed that there was a Thomas Marlowe. He worked for 2 years and left suddenly. And somewhere around then, Tom Harrison, the man I married, appeared. I didn't expect anything good, but I wanted to hear the truth from his lips. Who's Annabelle? He froze, eyes like a schoolboy who forgot to memorize a poem. It was a long time ago, and the child in the photo, he sat up, quiet, without objection, and he said something I didn't expect. That's my son. My world shattered, not from betrayal. It was a lie. A long, elaborate, silent lie. He had a child. Oh, and he never said a word about it. I was young. She got pregnant, and I wasn't ready. I ran away. I changed my name, my place, and started from scratch. And just like that. Didn't you think that this child is growing up, asking where his father is? That the woman you left behind might be living in fear and poverty? I sent her money. For several years. And then she disappeared. But I saw how he was bending under the burden. But I didn't care about his pity anymore. This is not about youth. This is about a choice. And now he's running away again. From himself. From us. From the past. He's not fighting. He's hiding. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just asked him calmly, does he know about you? I don't know. I've never met him. A good? Then it's time to change that. I deciding I'm going to find this guy. He had to be over 30 by now. And he has the right to know. And Tom has to face his guilt. Not to him. The next day I went to a private detective. Yes, it was expensive, but I had some money in a separate account. I decided that now was not the time to save. I gave him a photo. Aneda, find him for me. Please, I need to know what he's become, and if he wants the truth. Meanwhile, Tom was withdrawing more and more. He didn't eat. He didn't go out. He just smoked on the porch and wrote in his notebook. One day I saw him reading an article called, How to Disappear Without a Trace. Were you trying to run away again? I asked. No, he replied. But it seems I've already lost. To myself, to you, to him. The loser is not the one who made a mistake. It's the one who didn't do anything about it, Tom. And then the phone rang. From the detective. We got him. His name is Michael. And he lives 10 miles from you. And I realized this wasn't about the past. It's about the future. But is Tom ready for that future? There are things that no words can fix. There are roads that are better not to return to. But it's even worse to go back when you have no dignity left. This is how Tom looked the morning we were to meet his son. He stood at the door, wearing a wrinkled shirt, his face gray and his eyes empty. You don't have to go, I said. But I have to, he whispered. For once in my life, I have to admit that I'm a coward. He wasn't lying. Tom was afraid of this meeting the way a child is afraid of the dark, and as a man is afraid of his own past. Michael was not what we had imagined. He was in his early 30s. Broad shoulders, confident step. There was steel in his eyes. And resentment. You're Tom, he asked without shaking hands. Are you my father? And silence hung between them like a rope. I knew that it would either break or tighten even tighter. We were sitting in a coffee shop. Small tables, crowded, lots of people. We could hear everything. I don't know what to expect from this meeting, Michael said. I didn't ask you to come. I didn't need you. My mother raised me. All by herself. Tom made no excuses. Oh, I have no excuses. I just want to know what you've become. What have I become? Michael smiled bitterly. I've become someone who doesn't care about a father who's disappeared. Tom reached for his coffee cup, but his hand was shaking. I saw his jaw clench. Do you have children? Tom asked quietly. Yes. What's her name? What doesn't matter, Michael replied stiffly. When we left the coffee shop, Tom walked in silence. His steps were heavy, his back hunched. Well, I asked. He's right. All my life I've been running away. I learned to hide better than to be a man. And then what? Then I don't know who I am. And that's scarier than anything else. We returned home. Laura was already standing on the doorstep. She was wearing a red jacket and holding a folder. Aya wanted to return this, she said, handing me the document. I took it, and almost dropped it. The folder contained copies of bank transfers. What is this? I asked. This is what Tom was hiding. An account in your name. He's been saving this money for years. And I found his computer, and I wanted to erase something before I saw this. And I realized that he still had something real. I stood there in silence. I didn't know what was worse, the betrayal or the fact that he was preparing to run away and leave the money for me as a ransom. Laura, why are you returning this? Because I realized that you are the only one who has the right to decide what to do with it. And with this money, too. Tom didn't sleep at night. I heard him walking around the room, opening and closing the safe. And in the morning, he was gone. A note on the kitchen table. I left. I don't know if I will return. Maybe I need to get lost to find myself. I leave everything to you, because you are the only one who has never run away. I was left alone, with silence, with money, with the truth I hadn't asked for. But deep down I knew it wasn't over, because Tom didn't know how to really disappear. He was always caught up with either his conscience or me. There is a truth that you can run away from. But there is one that will catch up with you, no matter how much money you throw at its feet. Tom tried to buy oblivion, but the past is not for sale. He left everything to me. The money, the house, and a safe full of silence. Only I didn't know what to do with this wealth. I opened that account. The numbers jumped out at Meg several $100,000. Clean, untouched. This should have made me happy. But I felt as if I had opened someone else's debt list, and it was passed on to me. I was sitting in the kitchen when the phone rang. Laura, hi. Have you seen the money? Yes. What are you going to do with it? There it was. The question I was afraid to ask myself. I don't know, I honestly admitted. You do, she replied. Otherwise, you wouldn't be asking me for permission right now. The next morning I stood in front of Michael's apartment. His wife opened the door and gave me a cold look. Can I help you? I want to talk to Michael. He doesn't want to talk to you. The door was about to close, but I managed to slip an envelope through the crack. It's from his father. Michael's wife looked inside. Her eyes widened. I'll be right back, she muttered and disappeared behind the door. A few minutes later, Michael came out. He held the envelope in his hand, weighed it with his eyes. What is it? Money? And the opportunity to decide what you will do with it. He opened the envelope, looked at the check, laughed. You think this will erase 30 years of silence? I was silent. He tore the check in half. Money can't replace the past. But it can help the future, I said quietly. He thought about it. I returned home, but I didn't feel any better. At night, I went out into the yard, lit a match, and held it up to the pile of old documents Tom had left behind. The flame engulfed the paper, but did not bring oblivion. The past does not burn so easily. I knew it wasn't over. Sometimes answers are hidden not in words, but in dust, in an old drawer that has remained closed for years. And as soon as you pull the handle, not only the wood cracks, but also your idea of a loved one. I woke up in the middle of the night. Without a reason, but with a clear feeling something was waiting for me. Not fear, not intuition, but rather temptation. The room was quiet. Only an old fan was humming monotonously in the corner. And then I saw Tom's chest of drawers. It stood under the window, always closed, and I had never been interested in what was in it. But that night I go up and went over. The drawer was not open. Of course it wouldn't. It was locked. I felt all the handles, but in vain. And suddenly I remembered 10 years ago, Tom hid the key in a knitted sock in a distant box of winter clothes. It's amazing how memory sometimes brings up such details from the depths. I found that sock. The key was in place. My hands trembled a little as I put it in the lock, and with a soft click, the door gave way. Inside, there were neatly folded letters, yellow folders, handwritten notes, and photos. But one thing stood out, an old white envelope with a signature. If something happens to me. I opened it carefully. Carol, if you're reading this, it means I'm not around anymore. On and there are things that I had no right to hide, but I didn't have the courage to say. Michael is my son. Your best friend Laura was more than a friend for one night. Accident, stupidity, guilt, I called it, whatever you want. But I didn't want to leave him. I wanted him to live with us. I wanted you to forgive him. But Laura said it was not worth it. She decided for herself, and I agreed because I was weak. I saw him a few times through the fence, through the window. He didn't know who I was. But I remember his every move. I left him something. You'll find it all here. If you find it useful, pass it on. If not, destroy it. But he should know that I loved him. Tom. I sat there in silence. The letter trembled in my hands. My brain refused to accept the scale of this lie. He had been watching his son, knew everything. And he was silent, and allowed me to be angry at Laura, at myself, at the whole world for years. In the bottom drawer, I found a small wooden box. Inside was a photo of little Michael, receipts for transfers, a few children's drawings, and a note on another paper. This is his. He had to know. I took the box, the letter, all of it, and sat in the dark for a long time. And now I knew what to do. This time, not for Tom. Not for myself, it was for Michael. I packed my things, got behind the wheel, and drove to the place where yesterday the door had been opened to me with suspicion. And today it would open to the truth. But I did not know what was waiting for me there. Because some secrets are not just silent. They are preparing to strike back. There are doors that are better left unopened. But when they are already open, it is impossible to close them back. I stood on Michael's doorstep. I had a box in my hands and cheos in my head. Opened the door. He looked at me long and hard, as if he knew what I was going to say. I have something for you. He silently invited me inside. I put the box on the table. What is it? He finally asked. I opened the lid. Photos, letters, receipts, everything lay before him like pieces of a broken mirror. Nunties is. His voice trailed off. He took out a single photo. He looked at it for a long time. He was following me. I nodded. Michael opened the letter. His eyes ran over the lines, and with each word, something that had no name appeared in them. Did he love me? He looked at me. I swallowed my bitterness. I didn't know. I thought he'd cheated and forgotten. But he just couldn't choose. Michael gritted his teeth. He didn't choose. He was afraid. I had nothing to say. The silence lengthened. You think this changes things? Michael looked at me again. He lied to you. He lied to me. And now what? Is that supposed to make me feel better? I sighed. No. You just need to know the truth. He looked at the photo again. The truth is, he never became a father. I stood up. Don't know what you're going to do with this, but he left this for you. I pointed to the box. Michael was silent for a long time. I'll think about it. I nodded. I walked out of his house, not knowing if I would ever come back, although it was raining outside, cold like Michael's last words. The car started moving, and I didn't look back, because some stories never end.